I've spoken to you before about different ways in which the world really has been laughing at us for a long time since Donald Trump became president. They laughed when we elected a president who thinks climate change is a Chinese hoax. They laughed that we elected a president who has no idea how economics or currency or trade or medicine or the Constitution or the law or public transit or any of it works. And they were laughing at us early during the coronavirus pandemic. And even as recently as a couple of weeks ago, many countries were laughing at us. I showed you about 10 days ago articles from all over the world, the Netherlands, South Africa, Peru, everywhere, ridiculing our moronic president for his comments about bleach injections and the other things he said during that press briefing. But they're not really laughing anymore. Now it has gone from laughter to concern to actual pity. The emails I have gotten over the last few days from our international viewers, people that used to be poking fun at Trump's idiotic claims about vaccines and the virus, they now write to me and say, David, we feel sorry for you that you are dealing with this in the United States. We feel sorry that you are in a situation where no matter what you do, even if you do the right things, even if you have the best intentions and the accurate understanding of what it is that's going on and what it is that's necessary to deal with this virus, we feel sorry for you because your federal government has failed. They are incompetent. There is no plan. There is just a series of lies and disinformation and confusion and bogus talking points. And there are even Republicans who are willing to tell the truth. They are increasingly agreeing. This is just some Republicans. Of course, most of them are actually behind Donald Trump. Check out Republican strategist Steve Schmidt explaining it. Again, this is a lifelong Republican strategist. Take a look.
Donald Trump has been the worst president this country has ever had. And I don't say that hyperbolically. He is. But he is a consequential president. And he has brought this country in 3 short years to a place of weakness that is simply unimaginable if you were pondering where we are today from the day where Barack Obama left office. And there were a lot of us on that day who were deeply skeptical and very worried about what a Trump presidency would be. But this is a moment of unparalleled national humiliation, of weakness. When you listen to the president, these are the musings of an imbecile, an idiot. And I don't use those words to name call. I use them because they're the precise words in the English language to describe his behavior, his comportment, his actions. We've never seen a level of incompetence, a level of ineptitude so staggering on a daily basis by anybody in the history of the country who's ever been charged with substantial responsibilities.
Steve Schmidt is sadly absolutely right. The presidency is deadly. And as more and more countries open up, it is us, people in the United States, who won't be allowed to fly into other countries because we're a mess here as other countries are actually dealing with the problem. As Trump talks about a super duper missile, we'll get to that later. That's actually a phrase that he used. His son goes on TV and says it's all going to disappear on election day because it's merely a fake political scandal by Democrats. As that goes on here, the world is taking pity on us for our failed leadership. I was trying over the weekend to think of an analogy to try to apply to this because there are people who are analyzing this administration as if it were a normal administration. You have these people, some of them are so-called enlightened centrists who pretend to see both sides and find things they like in Trump and things that they dislike. You can't evaluate this president like you can other presidents. Here's an analogy I thought of that I'm workshopping and I want to try out on you. When someone says about Trump, well, you know, he has an unusual way of talking about the issues, but he's right on deregulation and he's right on trade, but maybe he's not the best guy on coronavirus. Imagine, okay, this is the analogy. Imagine I was playing in a chess tournament and I show up and I replace all the pawns on the board with queens that I take out of my pocket before the game starts. That's insane. And it's simultaneously making a mockery of the tournament. It's also cheating. I'm also either an idiot or a bad person for doing it. Imagine that a chess commentator sees me take 8 queens out of my pocket and put them on the board instead of the pawns and says, you know, David's strategy is unusual, but it's certainly an aggressive way to play the game. What? No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, some players use the Spanish opening and others take queens out of their pocket and replace the pawns. We're not talking about the same thing here. So when these enlightened centrists and pragmatic conservatives and whoever else, when they pretend to do an analysis of Donald Trump's presidency as if it were even remotely normal, they're failing the sniff test on principle. But there's another issue here. With very few exceptions, in the Republican Party, they are mostly just enabling this. There are a few Republicans who have taken a stand and are saying this can't happen, right? You've got people like Mitt Romney, who's a current senator from Utah, Republican. You have George Conway, a lifelong Republican, Steve Schmidt, lifelong Republican strategist. There are a few other Republicans, I can't name them all, who have not softened their view on Trump, and they are straight up saying this is not acceptable, this is not normal. This can't be dealt with in normal terms because normal terms don't apply. I'm not talking about them. But for the most part, Republicans in Congress, in the House and Senate, have enabled this. Most Republican governors have enabled this. So Trump is not alone to blame here. We have to blame the 63 million Americans that voted for Donald Trump. Yes, they are to blame. It doesn't matter whether you call them bad people or stupid, or they are to blame. Their actions are to blame for what we are dealing with right now. Of course, Trump is to blame, but the Republican Party that mostly continues to enable him, that even before the impeachment trial had already decided we're voting to acquit Donald Trump on impeachment charges, they have to be held accountable as well. We have the opportunity to hold every single one of the Republicans in the House accountable in November. We have an opportunity to hold the Republicans that are up for re-election in the Senate in November, which is of the 34 up for re-election. I forget the exact number of Republicans, but a number of Republicans are up for re-election in November. They have to be held accountable as well. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. One of the things I make a priority on the show is not to perpetuate stigma for things that don't deserve it. We've talked about mental health. We've talked about many things where we should all just be respectful adults, period, and we would be better off. And Blue Chew can increase performance and give you that extra confidence you may be looking for. BlueChew.com, blue like the color blue, is the first chewable with the same FDA-approved ingredient as in Viagra and Cialis. It can be taken day or night, even on a full stomach, since it's chewable. It works twice as fast as a pill. Whenever the opportunity arises, Blue Chew is prescribed online by licensed doctors. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. You don't have to wait in line at a pharmacy. It ships right to your door in a discreet package. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And best of all, no more awkwardness. We've got a special deal for our viewers and listeners. Go to BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use our promo code Pakman. That's Pakman. Pay just $5 shipping. That's BLUE Chew.com. Promo code Pakman to try it totally free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice. And we thank them for sponsoring the David Pakman Show.